welcome. I'm Choi, who is the chair of the Social Enterprises Alliance of Washington, and also serves as a business consultant with her own company. I'm really pleased to have her here. She has a PowerPoint to share that we'll go through to begin with, but she wanted to reserve quite a bit of time for questions and answers. So please be prepared to ask questions when she's completed with the presentation. Anna, welcome, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Excellent. Okay, so how familiar are you with social enterprise? How many of you know what that means? Yes. Who can say what that is? This will be very interactive. So be brave. What is a social enterprise? There's not like one right definition. So yes, yeah.
Essentially, it's a business enterprise that has a social mission.
Perfect. Okay, great. What else? Anybody else have anything to add to that?
There's different varieties of social enterprise.
Yes, like what?
LLCs, nonprofits.
Okay, good. Yes, there is a spectrum of different entities that can happen. Who else? What else do you guys know? Yes?
Social enterprises do business and they plow back their profits to doing a social mission.
Yes, they do business. They can't plow back into the profits into the mission. Okay, great. Anything else? Now, what you'll find is actually that there's not there's a lot of different versions of what it actually is, but you all did a great job of naming different aspects of what a social enterprise does. Yep. But let's look. So there really is a spectrum from a traditional nonprofit entity, right, all the way to a business and everything in between. And well said, it's just where you're both profit-driven and purpose-driven. Another way of saying that is mission-driven and market-driven. So you're going to be driven not like a nonprofit who is not a social enterprise, would only have a mission, but they just do donations. They don't care if there's a market need. They're not going to do that kind of research necessarily. They're just going to ask for lots of money for people that care about the cause. Versus market-driven means you're going to do your market research and find out that people actually want something that you have, and that'll derive revenue apart from just straight-up donations. So it's like a business brand with a social work heart. These are all different ways to say it. A quadruple bottom line of people, planet, profit, and purpose or presence. Those are used interchangeably. So I've done a ton of different meetup groups with different social enterprises in the area, specifically around KidSap. And these are all the terms that we threw up that, what is a social entrepreneur? And there's so many different terms and so many different entities from, how many of you have heard of B Corps before? Okay, good. 1%, getting back 1%, there's all these different kinds of brandings and certifications you can do. I find that in the rural areas of KidSap versus where I was from in Seattle for 17 years, that they use the term like giving back to the community or a business force for good way more than in Seattle, where it's more like the terminology is like triple bottom line. Everybody gets that. I don't have to explain it. But if you say that in KidSap, they're like, what do you mean? So these are all the different ways that it could look. And again, structurally, you have all the way from a traditional charity, as I mentioned, to a business. So this is more from a money standpoint that you have, and I personally focus and have a lot of work with the Social Enterprise Alliance and my business right there. So people that are businesses, but they have a mission aspect to their business. Any questions on this slide? Okay, great. So I don't know if this link is going to work, but if you can push play on the video, can you push play? Oh, okay. So I'm going to pause. We're going to pull this up. Do you have? I just need a link to internet.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So while he's pulling up, or I'm pulling up. So this is I have a TV show I started on YouTube channel called Social Impact TV, and we do 5 to 10 minute episodes with.
And welcome to Social Impact TV. This is Anna Choi, and I'm so excited and thrilled to introduce you to Kyla, and she has flown all the way from Nashville, Tennessee to come be with us here in Seattle tonight. We're at a Social Enterprise Alliance event. She is the CEO of Social Enterprise Alliance, which has over 1,000 members, 17 chapters, and I thought you'd be the expert, go-to expert to really define what the heck a social enterprise is. Because I did my own little video and realized, what? I was totally off. Although there's many different definitions, right? As I say. So I would love some clarity. What is the social enterprise? These are the models.
The most commonly asked question I ever get, so I'm happy to answer that for you.
So she's about to say 3 different models of social
Happy to
enterprise.
be here with you, and this event was so vibrant and dynamic. I wish all were here.
Yeah!
Thanks to Anna for putting it on. So we basically define social enterprise quite simply as a organization that uses a market-driven approach to solve a social problem or address a basic unmet need. Anna and I were having a conversation about that. The real kind of linchpin there is that it's a direct approach to solving social problems and addressing basic unmet needs.
So for example, like even when we call out like Social Enterprise Alliance itself, is not a social enterprise. So I was like, what?
I know, it's
And
very
I was like, okay, right, but so there's a lot of enablers in this. How did you get started? How did you find a way to become CEO? I think which
You can watch that later. Sorry, after you just turn the lights off. Make you turn it back on. So that is Kyla. So she's the CEO of the National Organization of Social Enterprise Alliance. Yep, you had a question?
Yeah, just before we get too far, I didn't catch the second part of the third model's name. I got donate.
Give back or buy one, give one. So the first one is opportunity employment. The second one is direct service, and the third one is donate, buy one, donate one.
Okay.
Like Tom's shoes that I'm wearing. I love wearing these as a brand ploy. But so every pair of shoes that you buy, right, they send another pair of shoes to another person in need, typically in a developing country. Okay, so those are how Social Enterprise Alliance defines it. However, if you go to Ashoka, which is where Kyla used to be from, how many of you are familiar with Ashoka? A little bit, okay, a couple of you. So they empower social entrepreneurs. They have programs, fellows, etc. for them, and they're in Seattle as well. But they are. They are a group that, where she came from, they define it totally differently. And I'm not honestly super familiar with how they define it. She just was saying how they just created those 3 models for themselves from their observations. And the National Alliance itself has about 60% nonprofit, and the 40% are for-profit. So I'm working in the chapter to like bring more of the business side in, because it operates and feels like a nonprofit, and you need some more business to get regular revenue, or else it's going to die as an organization. So, or not just this one, but any organization would. Anyway, so this is any questions on the 3 models, and we're going to have some examples in a little bit too here. Okay. So this is just some statistics that I brought, like where is the future of social impact, and what's not on there that I'm just going to let you know is 92% of all businesses in the U.S. are what is called micro businesses or solopreneurs. That means 0 up to 5 employees, including the owner. So 92% of all the businesses here are actually tiny micro solopreneur businesses. And many of them, so within those businesses, right, you've got social businesses comprise more than 3 times the normal for other regular startups, 50% reported profit. Basically, this is building a case. I won't read off every single one, but it's building a case that if you are a social business versus not, you're actually way more profitable. You can be. It's breaking any sort of myth that somehow it wouldn't be. And interestingly enough, the 92% of the micro business statistic I'm telling you that's not up there, those mostly are women and minority-owned businesses, which is interesting. So anyway, that's where we're headed, I think, as a new normal that I like to always create out there. Great. And then, how many are familiar with the Global Sustainable Goals, UN goals? Okay, so if you are in the social enterprise impact space, everybody's all about the UN goals right now. It's a big thing. I have a friend who actually was working at the UN who in the middle of creating this, but they put together a whole bunch of different factions of people that represented different areas, and they all came together in their specialized area and said, okay, by 2030, what do we want the world to look like? And then what would be the measures and the targets to get there? So if you Google this, I mean, it's everywhere. You will see lots of information on the UN website as well, but it has, they divided all the world's problems into 17 areas. And you can, for yourself, how many of you want to start a social enterprise? Or work in a social enterprise? Okay, so how many of you, are you all like entrepreneurs? Like how many of you want to start your own like business? Okay, and how many of you want to work in an organization as an employee for a social enterprise? Okay, so more of you are more entrepreneurs. Great. So this is a perfect way to unify conversations of those in the social enterprise ecosystem and say, hey, I'm really into number 8, which is decent work in economic growth. What about you? And it's just a nice way to find out from each person that you talk to or network with, okay, great, which UN goal are you up to? I'm in the same one. Let's see how we can collaborate. I highly encourage you to go to that website and then look at the measures and targets and see which ones resonate for you. And this can really be part of you defining your own purpose in the business that you want. Like, okay, this is what I'm up to actually causing and creating in the world. Go to the next one. Yep. So there's a lot of opportunity, right? A lot of challenges. The main challenges are like standardization. Like nobody has a common, even just like what is a social enterprise? It took me forever to find anything standard because it's not. The Stanford Social Innovation Review is different from Ashoka, which is different from Social Enterprise Alliance. So that's fine because it's kind of this like fourth sector emerging, the other 3 sectors being public, private, or nonprofit, the public, and then and government, and then private. So this is kind of like a fourth emerging sector. So naturally that's going to happen where there's not a standardization. But also people are, I think, siloed. They're duplicating efforts in the space. Everybody wants their own brand. So we're working really hard at Social Enterprise Alliance with like other. How many have heard of Impact Hub? It's a co-working space for social impact. Yeah, a few of you. Okay. So I'm meeting with the managing directors. I'm like, okay, we're kind of doing the same thing. Like we're doing the same think tank work of how can we be of value as an enabler in this space for social enterprise. And it's a tough jigsaw puzzle, like a puzzle to figure out because everyone's got their own model and reason to do it, right? So we were recently doing a mapping project where we looked at, they had brought in all the philanthropists, they brought in all the nonprofits, they brought in all the small businesses, and they asked them, hey, what do you need? What's missing, right? And you've got like investors who are saying, we have lots of money and no social enterprises to give it to. And you've got like the small businesses saying, we need money, we need funding, we don't know where to get it. And then you've got the philanthropists who are like, we don't need your help, we're set, we're good. So it's interesting, and I have a whole other soapbox about that, but everybody's like this, so that's the complex problem to solve. So this is from the national standpoint. This is one of the oldest social enterprise organizations that emerged. The headquarters are in Nashville. There's 14 chapters. We fluctuated between, now we're like 920 members right now, but it fluctuates kind of up and down to like 1,300 maybe. And those are paying members, but they started off with 6 folks. I think they worked at a nonprofit. They were social entrepreneurs. They came out and were like, we got to do something about this movement. We got to create something. So they started with this annual summit. And the summit was this huge, I don't know if it was global initially or national, but it was a national gathering at least. Everybody just, who's in a social enterprise? Come on down. And then from there it just grew. And then the chapters came later because people were like, we need something to sustain us between the summits, and we want some more, each market is different in each city. So they have different needs. So they started chapters, and so the chapters started growing. So the Seattle chapter I mean, it's Washington State chapter, but most of us are from kind of this region, is we have about 40 members, and I don't know, we fluctuate between 5 and 10 on our board, but we have been around for 4 to 5 years. So pretty new, so it's all kind of in startup phase of defining things, and the challenge that we face as a board is always all of us are volunteer on it, and we all have our own full-time jobs, businesses, so with the limited bandwidth that we have, how much change can we enact, because we all have really great ideas, but then you gotta do it. So there's a kind of constant fluctuation of leadership as well, right, as people have 1 2-year terms. So it's like, how much change can you cause, in that? So right now, what we're at work, well, let's go to the next slide. I'll just give you examples. So these are actual members. So like one of the people on our board is from Northwest Center. He's the main business development C-suite executive there. They do like 80, 90 million a year. So this is a perfect example of a very mature social enterprise that is a nonprofit entity, but competes completely in the regular markets. In fact, they don't tell them that what Northwest Center does is basically employs people with disabilities, people on the autism spectrum, and they place them in roles, frankly, that they can do better than non-autistic people can, because they have such focus and they can really if they're building a machine part or something, they actually do way better. So Mike Quinn, he's a colleague, that works there. Oops. Oh, that's okay. No, not yet. We won't have time, so anyway, super inspiring. But what's interesting about why they're successful as a mature social enterprise, making like 90 million a year, is because they operate just like a regular business. They're straight up a recruiting agency that has a whole supply chain of talent that happen to be all disabled, right? But when they're going to make bids, like, hey, we can, give you a whole bunch of employees, they don't necessarily highlight even the disabilities. They just bid in like they do with everyone else, and then they just win the bid. Does that make sense? So that's what's awesome. And then let's go to the next. This is Pioneer. How many of you guys know about Pioneer? So Pioneer Human Services it's like these secret stories that are amazing. Well, former board member Stephanie Welty was the CFO there. Same level, $80 to $90 million that they clear as a nonprofit. They've got they employ incarcerated people, formerly incarcerated people, but mainly their main revenue generators. They make parts for Boeing airplanes and Genie construction equipment. And we went down and toured their facility, right? And again, they just don't, this is so simple. Their business of how they generate revenue is simply making machine parts, right? And they just don't black box people who want to work there. Black box is when you have to mark off, yes, I have a felony, former felony or whatever. So they just don't have that be a negative thing. And then they don't even try to find incarcerated people. People just find out and know through their other nonprofit arm. So long story short is they just, same tactic, they just hire the best people. And 60% of them happen to be incarcerated, right? So it's kind of exciting how simple it is, right? You just kind of plug yourself right into the business world, but you just don't put the normal barriers that there would be. What's cool about Pioneer is they realized that they have, they're trying to address the long-term problem, right? So you've got people that come out of prison, they're going to go right back in if they don't get housing and if they don't get themselves set up with a job, etc. So they have different arms that address those different areas. They get counseling in one area, they get back on their feet. They have another one that helps them get home and stay and have that home. And so it actually creates a long-term solution for these people to stay, not just go back to prison, but stay out, become a contributing member again. So it's just awesome that everyone wins. And so these all exist, and then so there's these giants. I call these the mature social enterprises that are already functioning on their own. They don't really need the help of us, the Social Enterprise Alliance, who are enablers, right? And then there's a vast majority of startups that fail, don't know what they're doing. We can kind of help them, but our sweet spot and who we target is really in the middle of mature, not mature, but at least 1 year in your social enterprise, you have some paying customers that you've proven yourself, and we can help give them services to help bolster them and grow them to the next phase. Okay, next. So Fair Start's just another giant. So they focus on homelessness and a little bit of previously incarcerated, and they're basically a catering company. Okay. So, So so who Social Enterprise Alliance serves is like the social enterprise organization, and there's a membership level there, and then there's the individuals. So these are just they call them social entrepreneurs. These are my friends, actually. So this is not a member, but I just wanted to give you an example of a startup. So she just got her crowdfunding campaign off, and she's doing an app that's like shop the change, so that anywhere you go, you could put your app up and find out, oh, is this child trafficking sourced? Or, oh, is this green? And you can just easily do that. So that's what this was literally a slide from like 2 days ago. So they just finished. So that's an example of like a startup. Yep. Another startup, same thing. She did a crowdfunding campaign, got her initial 10,000, and all she's doing is just an app that's vetted through all of this minority. You can just, it's kind of like a Yelp, but for all minority-owned businesses. So anytime you need to eat out and you want to support this group of people, you can just go on there and, find your category. So simple concept, but she also is a startup. And so then we have the organizations, we have the individual social entrepreneurs, and then we've got the intermediaries and the enablers. And that's where Social Enterprise Alliance comes in, but then also my business comes in. I'm an enabler. 501 Commons, how many of you guys know about that? Nope. Okay. So they're like they serve just nonprofits, but they're trying to get more into the social enterprise market. And basically, as a nonprofit, you've got no money to get the mentoring and the marketing help and all that stuff. So they're kind of like SCORE for nonprofits, but you can just go there and get a whole bunch of free resources as a nonprofit. Or they give you a really subsidized rate. Impact Hub Seattle is that co-working space I was talking about. Their whole theme and all the people there are both from nonprofit and profit and government and everywhere, but they all care about social impact. So we're about to do like a UN Global Jam hackathon for homelessness, because there's a huge homelessness issue in Seattle, and they're going to help bring together developers, bring together government people, bring together cross-sector collaboration to like actually find a solution to this. So that's like a UN Global Jam happening at the Impact Hub Seattle. So they're a co-working space, but they also do some programming. And then Red F is straight up funding, and they only focus on employment opportunity models. Like Fair Start is an example of that. And so that's what they care about. And so they just fund as a foundation. And then my business is I don't work with nonprofits or with other entities. I just work with entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, mission-driven entrepreneurs, conscious entrepreneurs, and I help them scale and attract clients to grow from, doing maybe 1 to 10,000 a month to like 20 to 40,000 a month.
Yeah, and on the hub, you notice from the ad regarding the workshop career fair, there's that local hub over in Lacey. That's analogous to the Impact Hub.
Oh, great! I didn't know that. In Lacey?
In Lacey, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so they've got a branch. Okay, so this is the vision and mission for the Washington State chapter. We just hashed this out. We just had a board retreat. We have an attorney on there, so man, this took a long time. He was like, "Not that work, this work," but he's awesome. And anyway, so this is what we're up to now. We'll be the leading center of social enterprise. We're the voice for social enterprise, and we can promote the growth and sustainability in the sector. So, and then our mission is to build a thriving social enterprise ecosystem by enhancing and aligning resources through collaborations, research, and advocacy. So this is not even on the website yet, so take a picture because it's fresh and new. It's not public yet. Okay, it'll go public. And then this is our market. Like I said, on that spectrum, we're not servicing the $90 million social enterprises that don't need our help, or the 80% of startups that are like don't even know if their concept's going to work. But that little middle target is where we're trying to focus on. And our strategic priorities are, right now we're just doing a bunch of interviews with all the main players in the ecosystem to figure out okay, seriously, what do you need? What do you do? What works? What doesn't work? And we're creating a grid and then a directory so that people who want to enter into the space are like, oh, I need this, and they would come to us as a concierge, and we can be like, oh, you should go talk to these people and these people, so that you don't have to navigate all that, because it's like a lot of navigation and a lot of research if you don't have the like know-how of this fourth sector group that's there. And then a marketing channel, so we still the National Social Enterprise Alliance. Am I going too fast? I know I'm going super fast when I talk fast. Tell me to slow down to say. Okay, I get excited and talk fast. So the direct service offerings of the National, they have like an incubator, they have mentor office hours, they have they're trying to become a marketplace for people to sell their goods and services. So they have like this big holiday catalog coming out, and you can go shopping on there and be supporting all social enterprises. So that they're what I call direct service model, like they're just straight up offering a service, versus our chapter is a transformational model. So we're trying to build the ecosystem and build the movement, which doesn't mean necessarily that we're like offering something direct. Does that make sense? So we've moved away from just like doing a whole bunch of events and competing with all the other conscious capitalism and all the other events that are out there, and we're focusing just on building the ecosystem by talking to all the main players and then being someone who can coordinate that challenge I talked about earlier. How there's no standardization, so trying to help not reinvent the wheel, not operate as silos. And then the last thing is internships. So I sent a thing around. Did you guys get that? The email? Yes, yes. Okay, some of you. So if you want to gain some experience and get in our world and make some connections, that's a great opportunity. We get to work with David. He's really awesome. Anyway, so we need communications to make things public and that sort of thing. So there's a great opportunity there. And that's the value. I spoke a little bit to some of these things, but really that clarity of organized research, the situation, being the concierge. This is kind of restating what our value proposition is as the Washington State chapter. Every chapter is different. So some chapters, all they do is do events. You know, other chapters like LA, there are too many events, so they have to have a different value proposition. Okay, and then this is what national, like I said, is direct services. So like literally if you want to do a webinar, then you pay them like $35 and suddenly you can get promoted to this whole, like 1,000 people or 10,000 on their email list or 20,000, right? You could, they literally promote you, share your story on the website, build your capacity with the mentor office hours, etc. Okay. Oh. Yep. So those are ways you can engage with Social Enterprise Alliance. You can join our email list, apply to be an intern, become a member, partner with us for an event, or attend. They have like quarterly webinars on different topics. Okay, that's it. That's exactly what happened.
Questions?
Yes, questions.
Membership fee?
For social entrepreneurs, $100 a year, and then you should renew that annually. And then for an org, it's like $350 and above. It depends on how many people you have as an employee. Yeah.
Your internships are based out of Seattle?
It'd be virtual. I mean, you can work from home. Yeah. Yep.
I know you mentioned like you were kind of catering to the mid-range social enterprises for
Yes.
for C1. Are they so at what point would you recommend like trying to coordinate with that with the alliance? Like for
Any level is okay because
Okay.
we're yes.
Internships typically last how long?
I mean, it's got to be at least, I want to say 3 to 6 months, and then we can see if it's a good fit and renew after that if it's a good fit.
And
Yeah.
of course, the commercial is if you wanted to make that part of your in-program internship, you can make that, you can link it to that program.
We're pretty open. Like I said, we're a bunch of professionals that need more bandwidth, people who have more time. So, but have a skill set. Like we don't have time to like super train, so you kind of you gotta have some background as well. So it's pretty independent as a role. But you get to, you work with me and with David primarily, our marketing communications chair. So we have like a lot of the tools set up. So you just want to, a passion for this industry or this sector. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay. Yes.
As far as the social entrepreneurs that come to you asking for advice, what are like some of the biggest mistakes you see people making that you feel like you have to correct with people who approach you with their problems?
What are the biggest mistakes that social entrepreneurs make when they come to Social Enterprise Alliance?
No, just like, because you consult people.
As a business
right?
coach.
As a business,
Yeah.
Yeah, is that appropriate to?
Yeah, absolutely. Ask me all about my business too, because it totally pertains to the topic. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just what are like some big mistakes that people make or that are common?
Well, this is hot off the press as well. I was like, I just got an article accepted in the Social Innovations Journal coming out, so I talk about this exact thing. I think the biggest mistake as an industry is that we're focused on, you need funding, assuming that every micro business wants to become the next household brand at 10 times their growth. So you spend all this time like, oh gosh, I gotta get a pitch deck together, or I gotta like, you just hear so much about it, like at Sales Startup, and you think you have to like spend all this energy trying to put together this team, like all this energy and stuff gets put into trying to find funding versus like, so that's the mistake, right? But you can just bootstrap it with no money. That's what I do with all my clients, right? And you can, I see it happen all the time, and the misnomer is that, most people, like the micropreneurs, they want to grow and scale, but they don't care about becoming the next household brand within like 1 year. They just want more time with their family. They want freedom of lifestyle. They want the lifestyle, right? So you need to test your market and then get paying customers. That's how you pay yourself, not through funding from someone else that you convince that your concept is good. Just from the market wanting to buy what you got. It's like simple, but people, I don't know, it's not out there as like a norm. The norm is you need a startup, go get funding. So that's one big mistake. You don't need funding. I started 3 businesses from scratch, as a broke college art student with no money, no connections, no experience. I started my first like social responsible investment planning and was like at 6 figures by age 25, right? This was out of undergrad, and tripled my net income. So it's like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing as an art major in finance suddenly. So it's totally possible. And then I can tell you success story upon success story of people who have bootstrapped it. So that's one mistake. Another one is, I actually get this as a mentor. I'm a mentor for the National Alliance. People they've won money, like 60 grand, 50 grand from the government or whatever, and they blow it all on like hiring expensive people on their team without knowing how to vet them, if that makes sense. So you've got to build your basic business fundamentals before you can go hire people, because you can't tell if they're good or not. You can't tell, you're just trusting them. Does that make sense? Like you can't hire for something that you can't vet because you don't know enough about it. So the bottom line here is, the mistake is people don't just learn and invest in business fundamentals. Those are sales, marketing, market research, like getting out there, figuring out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, to know, there's 30 different ways to market. What 2 strategies are you going to focus on given your strengths? So not everybody has to be a networker, not everybody has to be a content marketer, not everybody has to do a blog. It's like, it just depends on your skill set that you want to capitalize on. Some people are really into systems versus other people are really into people, or you gotta sort that out. So first biggest mistake is funding, thinking you have to. Second biggest mistake is not focusing on business fundamentals, trying to hire stuff out, like spending more money unnecessarily. Does that make sense? I'm trying to think of other. Those are the biggest ones I see. Yeah.
Clarifying question.
Yeah.
So, I guess like as someone who comes from poverty and like has no idea about like starting from scratch, like for me really means like starting with nothing.
Yeah, I was on food stamps one time, but.
Right, so, yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I'm like so curious about your experience because like for me, yeah, or like what, so like number one would be like learning investment.
You don't have to learn investment.
Yeah, I guess like how do you, because you can't like, you have to start out with some amount of capital to have a business, right? Or like some skill.
You should have a job then. I mean, just like a job to keep you paying your bills,
Right. And then.
which is the other mistake people make. I'm just going to jump all in, have no job or whatever, no income coming in. That'll help me focus.
Right.
Bad idea. I mean, it's kind of basic common sense, but people do not do it. But I always advise people, you should have some, like whether it's your partner that's bringing you in money or you have a job or bartending at night, I don't care what it is. You go make some money so that you're not desperate when you're going out and making clients.
Right.
So you do like
So,
need
like-
some source of income. Yeah.
Right, having that source of income,
Mhm.
and you were kind of, but you were saying something about how you like learned about investment, and that's kind is that how?
No. I just chose that as my business was a financial advisor.
Okay.
So that particular model I was in, it was 100% commissions, but they would give you like an office and everything. But you only took like a 40% cut of anything that you generated for business.
Yeah.
So how did I live? I lived off a credit card at the time,
Right.
and I had some side contract jobs.
Uh-huh.
I had like that's I didn't have a savings or anything.
Yeah.
So I mean I lived very frugally.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
so it took me 3 months to like make something. Right? And then I built from there.
Yeah. How did you get to?
That was my first one, but yeah.
How did you like gain the skill set to become a financial advisor? Because I imagine that helps with your like.
It was kind of a do or die environment. I mean, like it was like a 95% turnover kind of thing. So I just learned it literally like it was straight out of college. So I was in that book. I can't do it now if I try to pass it. Oh, I tried and I failed. But anyway, so it was literally 2 weeks we had to go from 0 to passing our series 6 and 7.
Uh-huh.
And literally, I just studied day and night.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know what I was doing. I just like memorized it. So that, I mean, as far as gaining knowledge, I just did that to get the thing that you need to be able to sell investments.
Uh-huh.
I'm not suggesting you all become financial planners. That was
right.
just I was interviewing after undergrad, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And
Yeah.
I had like all these interviews lined up, and literally I just picked this place because I was like, I like them. I just like the people. I was like, I think I'll get trained here.
Right.
That was like all the thought. That was it. And I was like, sure.
Okay, cool.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it could be anything, yeah.
So I just want to kind of see if I understand what you're saying there. I used to sell insurance, and so I'm familiar with some of the licenses you have to have. So you just have to get like a Series 63 to do your investment.
Yeah,
right?
663 life and disability.
So
Yeah.
it's just like a week or two of classes that typically a company would pay for your on-the-job training to get those licenses, right?
I can't remember if they paid for it or not. I thought I paid for it. They just gave us the training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess my point that I'm trying to make is that it's not as high as a barrier as it seems to get into that line of work. You just kind of
For that line of work, yeah. Usually they train you. Yeah.
be able to take it, do the
You just
test.
get the license, yeah. Because you don't use that license at all in real life. When you're helping people, it's like so annoying. It's like, no, we're not going to sell stocks. Okay, but yeah. Or buy and sell stuff.
And on your board, you've got Pacific Continental Bank, you've got Bloodworks, you have a variety of organizations
Yes.
that don't appear to be, all that consistent in terms of the nature of their work or their products. Can you help us kind of reconcile how a group like Pacific Continental Bank, who we just happened to be talking about bank balance sheets today,
Yeah.
how they're a social entrepreneur versus, or a social enterprise versus, say, someone like yourself or a Bloodworks not-for-profit?
So Pacific Continental Bank only specializes with nonprofits. That's there. So Nick is the executive there, and huge heart. I mean, him personally on the board, he was getting his master's in MPA, whatever it is for nonprofit. He wants to start his own nonprofit. He's very involved in the community, and that bank, before it got acquired by Columbia Bank, only specialized in nonprofits, like giving checking and savings accounts to nonprofits and servicing them. So that was the connection. Everybody's got a string, obviously, on the board, right, in some way, to this cause or this mission.
So my nonprofit is trying to attract other nonprofits to invest in my service. You mentioned companies with like $80 million who have some disposable income for tax write-offs. Have you run across any nonprofits that donate to other nonprofits?
So you have a nonprofit and you're looking.
No, I mean, well, in the works.
Okay, so you're forming a nonprofit,
Correct.
and you're wondering if other nonprofits donate to nonprofits.
For, well, to acquire customers from the possible potential.
Do you mind sharing what it is?
I'm
Or is it secret?
trying to get mailboxes for homeless.
Oh, awesome. Yay.
And since there's a target market for people on the street that need certain certificates and so forth for work and things like that.
Great. So you're just looking for what kind of funding might you get to start that?
Right, since you mentioned you would like to be nonprofit with emphasis on profit for longevity.
Oh, how would you like build a revenue model from that?
Right.
I see. Different question. Well, if you can somehow employ
That's,
the homeless.
I've been looking at that as well for the businesses in town and so forth, working with homeless centers and such.
Yeah, there's like Real Change, right? And then, Real Change?
The terminology, I'm slow on the
Okay.
terminology.
Real Change is a nonprofit that helps homeless people get jobs through either becoming artists and selling their art or becoming newspaper vendors. So that, they go, Real Change, on the side corner. And some of those guys, like the top producers, it's $1 a paper, they make like 60 grand. That's like the top producer. But, if they work at it and figure out their systems, that's one avenue. So you might go to I would go to Real Change and be like, hey, I want to set up mailboxes for them. What do you need? So you want to go, this is your market research, you go find out what is the need. And you could say, I would approach Real Change and be like, okay, I have this idea to start a nonprofit that helps give mailboxes for the homeless. You probably have an underlying goal there, right? Like, why do you want to give them mailboxes?
Yeah, that would be like an mission statement and vision. Basically, it's just well, the model is you have like there's 25%. My target market is 25% of the people who are in like chronic homeless. They're the last in line for resources and so forth, while they're sitting around waiting for temporary housing or employment or just documents for employment and so forth.
I see, during that interim period.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I think you could revenue model it through, like, I think you should go to like Pioneer, go talk to Pioneer, talk to Real Change, find out all the people that are already employing homeless people, who is their service provider for mailboxes, and then you would be, so basically they would pay you, they're your clients, like let's take Pioneer, right?
Okay.
I'm hesitant because they mainly focus on incarcerated, but they do some homeless, I think, too. But either way, I think.
The incarcerated people would be a segment of.
Yeah, usually it can kind of, dovetail a little bit. So anyway, for instance, so you would talk and say, when they're in that interim state and they don't have a house, they're homeless, they're looking for a job, and they need a mailbox, who do you use? What do they do? And they'll be like, I don't know, we haven't even thought of that. Or oh, we use this person or whatever. You just find out what is already existing or not. And then if either way, you would say, hey, well, I'm interested in being able to provide this service. Like maybe, I don't know, you'd have to work with the post office, I guess. I'm not exactly sure how that all works, but you'd have to figure out a model of how much you would charge Pioneer to use you to be the concierge of, everyone's mailbox.
Well, it'd be collaborative, for me, collaborative effort of nonprofits and so forth to use the service, just not like into.
Right. But they could be your beta test. That was not a beta test. Minimum viable product, yeah.